Hello. This is one of about 200 talks that I'm giving on the history of Western art, and I've divided these talks into series and episodes. The series are like chapters, and so this is series 61 on recent artists, number 18 on Jeff Koons. Now, Jeff Koons is an American artist born in 1955 in York, Pennsylvania, and he was showing an aptitude for art from an early age. His father, who was an interior designer, encouraged him in that activity. Now, when he was young, he would often recreate old master paintings and sell them in his father's furniture store. Later, he attended the Maryland Institute College of Art and graduated in 1976. Then he worked at the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, on the membership desk while he was trying to establish himself as an artist. And while he was there at MoMA, he experimented with his appearance. He dyed his hair red. He had a pencil moustache inspired by Salvador Dalí, and he occasionally wore an inflatable plastic flower. He became a well-known figure, and his social skills enabled him to make many useful contacts in the art world. This work, I Told You Once, I Told You Twice, is from 1977, when he had just graduated. And you can see that even this early in his career, many of the elements he used later are already present. His work often looks kitsch, that is, excessively garish or sentimental, but he presents it in a knowing or ironic way in order to critique consumer culture and subvert the normal conventions of art. And so by doing that, he's blurring intentionally the difference between low art and high art. Now, his work over the years, he's produced as a number of series of works. And what I'll be doing is I'll be going through one or two works from each of the series that are shown and clearly organised on his website, jeffkoons.com, which I recommend you visit. So, in 1979, he created a series called Inflatables, and this is Inflatable Flower and Bunny, a work that laid the foundation for his future fascination with inflatable objects and childhood imagery. Again, he's exploring kitsch and consumer culture. He's surprising us, questioning the meaning or intention of art, perhaps inviting us to reflect on our society and consumer taste. Now, at this time, he briefly worked as a political canvasser in Florida, but he then returned to New York and became a commodities broker. He worked on Wall Street for several years from about 1980, and that provided a good income, and that enabled him to produce art in his non-working hours, so it subsidized his career. And in 1980, he exhibited a series of works called The New at the New Museum of Contemporary Art, and the series featured vacuum cleaners displayed in clear plastic boxes illuminated by fluorescent lights. It may have been inspired by Marcel Duchamp's ready-mades, which he saw when he worked at MoMA. The vacuum cleaners, you can see here, elevated everyday objects to a sort of iconic status, exploring how desires and fantasies can be projected onto consumer goods. As Koons said, quote, "It's a commercial world and morality is based generally around economics, and that's taking place in the art gallery," end quote. So, like Andy Warhol, he's fully engaged with the business of art. His art is about the business of art about consumerism and is itself a consumer object. But remember, as well as the business of art, Koons also said, art to me is a humanitarian act. And I believe that there is a responsibility that art should somehow be able to affect mankind, to make the world a better place. In 1985, he created another series of works called Equilibrium, and this is 3-ball total equilibrium tank, and it features 3 basketballs suspended in water. And by this time, Koons had established a studio, a factory-like studio in Soho, New York, where he was already employing over 30 assistants who helped him produce this work, and he was gaining recognition as part of a generation of artists who were exploring our media-saturated world. Now, this work exemplifies his interest in ready-mades, of course, but also the intersection of art and science. And he worked with the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman to achieve this perfect equilibrium. So by adding chemicals to the water to change its density. Now, even so, over a period of 6 months, the balls do gradually sink to the bottom of the tank and have to be reset. So because of this, it can be seen as transient, representing human frailty and vulnerability. So what he's done as well is to take common objects, the basketballs, isolate them in a sort of art environment, a vitrine, and this was a foretaste of what we'll see later. He takes common objects, often kitsch, and casts them in permanent materials, often steel, or he remakes them, for example, in porcelain, and then that elevates them from the banal to the aesthetic and leaves them in this balance themselves between those 2 extremes of the banal, the kitsch, to the aesthetic high art. Another series he produced called Luxury and Degradation included a different approach to consumer art. This is called I Could Go for Something Gordon's, and it's a near identical reproduction of an advertisement for Gordon's Gin that was originally photographed by Mitchell Gray. This is the photograph, and it's interesting to compare the two. Of course, the difference is that the original is a photograph and Koons is a painting. Both show a couple on a beach. The woman is painting at an easel while the man is sort of tugging at a smock. Koons has, in other words, appropriated an existing advertisement, made minor alterations, as you can see. He's repositioned the gin bottle, changed the typeface, trimmed the original ad's text, and this aligns with his broader strategy of appropriating but recontextualizing consumer imagery. He is critiquing the role of alcohol, sex as status symbols in society, and he reproduces advertisements to show us how these elements are uniquely marketed to the population, suggesting that what is used as a status symbol can ultimately lead to human degradation. And by blurring the line between an advertisement and high art, he's blurring the line between high and low culture, so challenging traditional notions of artistic creativity and originality. So it's a critique of traditional advertising, supporting the French philosopher Jean Baudrillard, view which, quote, obscene promiscuity of consumer signs, meaning that consumer products are associated with a lifestyle that's not grounded in reality. It's casual and seductive. That's what he means by the word promiscuous. The piece also reflects the culture of the 1980s, which was, if you remember, characterised by high spending and the rise of yuppie culture. And so by elevating a commonplace advertisement to the status of fine art, he's commenting on the commodification of desire and the seductive power of marketing. At a final point, Koons has, of course, appropriated Gray's photograph without permission, and this led to a copyright infringement lawsuit in 2015. And he, over the years, there have been a number of legal and ethical debates surrounding appropriation. I'm not sure of the final outcome in this case, but over the years he's had several copyright infringement lawsuits brought against him. It's important to note that under US law, a copyright holder, which must first file a claim within 3 years of discovering the infringement. I don't know whether that happened in this case. The iconic rabbit, a stainless steel sculpture that looks like an inflatable bunny. Now, by 1986, when he produced this, he was fully established as an artist. He'd left his job some years before as a commodities broker, and he was focusing on art full time. As I said, he had a workshop employing many apprentices. His work was gaining attention internationally, and looking at this piece, the reflective surface of Rabbit invites viewers to see themselves in the artwork, and that again blurs the line between the object, the art object, and the observer, because you see yourself in the object, you become part of the object. And you can see here the photographer has put the camera on a tripod and left the room to avoid the photographer becoming part of the artwork. The sex of the rabbit is indeterminate, and he's combined the expected softness of a rabbit with the visual hardness of stainless steel. And Koons has said, "I've always enjoyed objects that contain both aspects of the masculine and the feminine." And it's this work, which was produced in 1986, in 2019, one of the, I think it was 3 rabbit sculptures he'd produced sold for $91.1 million at Christie's in New York. It set a record for the most expensive work of art by a living artist at auction at that time. This is a series called Banality, and this particular work is Michael Jackson and Bubbles. It's porcelain. It's about a metre high and just under 2 meters long, and it exemplifies his fascination with celebrity culture and his desire to challenge traditional notions of art. He chose Michael Jackson, the most famous figure in his field at the time, because he wanted to tap in to the culture of celebrity worship. And he's presenting Jackson as this godlike figure, idealized, smooth-skinned, golden, surrounded by flowers, reminiscent of religious offerings. And he's deliberately drawing parallels between Christian iconography and Jackson holding Bubbles in a pose, partly, I think, reminiscent of Michelangelo's Pietà. So this juxtaposition of pop culture, religious imagery, speaks to Koons' interest in elevating the banal to the status of high art. Another quote from Koons: "I wanted to create him in a very godlike icon manner, but I always liked the radicality of Michael Jackson, that he would do absolutely anything that was necessary to be able to communicate with people." End quote. This underscores Koons' admiration for Jackson's ability to connect with his audience, a quality that Koons himself sought to emulate in his work. And by using a well-known pop star, he's challenging the notion that modern art must be difficult or exclusive. He's always aiming to create art that could reach the largest possible audience. In 1989 to 1991, he created a series called Made in Heaven, and it was a very provocative and controversial body of work because it explores themes of sexuality and desire and the intersection of art and popular culture. He's produced this work looking like a billboard, a poster, and he's featuring himself. This is Jeff Koons alongside his then wife Ilona Stala, and also known as Kocholina, which means little chicken. She was a Hungarian-Italian porn star and politician. In fact, she continued to make adult films while serving as a member of the Italian Parliament. The works in this series depict the couple in explicit sexual poses, as large-scale photographs, as paintings, and as sculptures. And I've selected one of the better known and less controversial works from the series. The series incidentally includes a small glass sculpture called Blowjob (Kama Sutra). Koons was aiming to create a modern day Adam and Eve, placing them in fantastical Eden-like settings with vibrant colours, particularly in the photographs and paintings, and surreal elements. And he uses through this whole series pornographic imagery and presents it as high art, again challenging traditional notions of taste and decorum and the boundary between low and high culture. He is drawing parallels between his art and the art of the Baroque and Rococo periods, work like the work of Bernini and Fragonard and Boucher. And he is exploring the aestheticization of contemporary desire and a dialogue with the fundamentals and the eternal. But the explicit nature of the work, combined with their polished, idealized presentation, created a tension between personal and public, the sacred and profane, and led to a lot of publicity, both adverse publicity and praise. It's a particularly controversial series, the Made in Heaven. Less controversial is this series called Popeye, a monumental sculpture which made its debut in 1992 at Schloss Arolsen, which is, as you can see, a Baroque castle in Bad Arolsen, Germany, coinciding with an art fair, Documenta 9, in a nearby town. It's about 11 metres or 33 feet high. It's a topiary sculpture. It's depicting a West Highland White Terrier. It was constructed using wood, steel, soil and live flowering plants. And it was part of a series. This is the first iteration, which would become a series of beloved creations. He was partly inspired by 18th century formal gardens, but also contemporary kitsch. So he's blending again high art with popular aesthetics. And he used computer modelling to design this, what you might call an outlandish version of traditional topiary, pushing the boundaries of scale and concept. He used, it's not, well, you can see the various colours. He used a mixture of flowers, marigolds, begonias, petunias, lobelias, that grow and bloom through the life of the installation. So it's ever-changing work, and it's uncontrollable. It's the forces of life and growth, contrasted with the precise engineering that was needed to create the structure. Now, this version of Puppy was temporary and was dismantled after the exhibition, but it led to the creation of subsequent versions, and they include this permanent installation at the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao in 1997, which is even bigger. It's 43 feet tall. To quote Koons, he said, "I think that Puppy is successful because it deals with the issue of control and giving up control. Control is necessary in the creation of the work, but then control has to be given up." End quote. And what he's saying, what this philosophy encapsulates, is the delicate balance between the artist's intention and the unpredictable nature of living art in this way, the way that the plants would take over and they would flower and die outside of the artist's control. Balloon Dog Orange is part of his Celebration series. It's a monumental stainless steel sculpture. It's bigger than it looks. It's over 3 meters high and 3.5 meters long. It looks like a twisted balloon animal. Now, at this time, he was dealing with personal issues, including a custody battle for his son with his ex-wife, who he'd divorced by then, and maybe these experiences influenced his work. He describes Balloon Dog as a very optimistic piece. It's a balloon that a clown would maybe twist for you at a birthday party, end quote. In other words, this series is about the symbols that represent fun, birthday parties, festive celebrations, the sorts of events that you or children go to, and where a clown might create these twisted shapes from balloons. There are 5 balloon dogs in the series. They are made from precision engineered mirror polished stainless steel, and they are finished with a translucent coating, which is either, in this case of this series, blue, magenta, orange, red or yellow. This is the orange. This is another work, Hanging Heart, which again was created in 5 unique colours. It was produced by a specialist fabrication company. His sculptures were becoming increasingly complex. Although they look simple, they involve very complicated engineering. They're technically very ambitious. The piece itself, of course, reflects love, celebration, luxury. Koons said, "I think all art involves out of some autobiographical aspect. It was a period when I was kind of losing trust in humanity. I felt everything that was right was kind of made wrong, but I held on through my work." And again, this is shows his fascination with popular culture and consumerism. The work is nearly 3 meters or 9 feet tall. It's made from high chromium stainless steel with different coloured exteriors and different coloured interiors. It shows his intention to appeal to a wide audience. As he said, "I try to create work that doesn't make viewers feel they are being spoken down to." so they feel open participation. It was labour intensive. This work required over 6,000 man-hours, more than 10 layers of paint to achieve this flawless finish, which shows he's a perfectionist, shows his commitment to perfection in making these works. It sold for over $23 million in 2007. Oh, incidentally, there's an amusing anecdote relating to this. When it was installed at the Palace of Versailles in 2008, it outraged French nationalists and conservative groups in France, and there were posters declaring it an outrage to Marie Antoinette. You may wonder why, but it seems that as part of this exhibition of a number of his series of work, he'd placed his vacuum cleaners, remember the vacuum cleaner series I showed you, in the Marie Antoinette room. And it was described by French critics as truly sullying the most sacred aspects of our heritage and identity, which I think shows the tension between contemporary art and historical spaces, and as well as Koons' ability to provoke strong reactions. I wonder what would happen if he'd put the Made in Heaven series in the same room. Yes, let me just show you quickly. This is a work called Play-Doh. It's a large aluminium sculpture resembling a mound of the popular children's modelling compound, and it took 20 years to plan it and think about how to construct it, because it's very technically complex. It's not hollow. It's made from solid, heavy aluminium pieces that press down on each other. They're not fixed together. They're supported by their own weight. And so Koons was pushing the boundary of what was possible with the material in order to produce something at the scale he wanted. This is over 3 meters high. And he's celebrating childhood creativity. This is the Easyfun series, and this is Bear Blue. He produced many many animals in this sort of this sort of shiny, it's mirrored glass outline series. Things like cow, donkey, elephant, giraffe, goat, hippo, kangaroo, etc., etc. And they all reflect his interest in childhood nostalgia, combined with consumer culture and the power of imagery to evoke emotional responses. The series Easyfun was followed by another series, I'll show you an example in a moment, called Easyfun-ethereal. And they employ computer-aided design and digital manipulation to create these complex layered compositions. Throughout the works, he maintains his characteristic approach of installing self-confidence in the viewers. It's something that you know, is something that you're familiar with. As he said, I always try to give viewers self-confidence, a foundation within themselves. For me, my work is more about the viewer than anything else. And then just before I show you Easyfun-ethereal, I'd show you this work, Split Rocker. It's a monumental, another floral sculpture combining two children's rocking toys. There's a pony and a dinosaur combined together. By this time, 2000, he was firmly established as a major figure worldwide in contemporary art, and his works were all fetching very high prices at auction and were featured in major museum exhibitions worldwide. He continues to be interested in childhood imagery, as you can see here, and it also shows his meticulous attention to detail. There are literally thousands of live flowers covering the sculpture. I said I would show you Easyfun-ethereal. There's a number of different works in the series. There's the Easy Fun series I showed you included 7 large-scale paintings, which he later expanded to 24 in photorealistic detail, and the paintings are characterized, as you can see here, by vibrant colors, digitally manipulated, layered compositions, intentionally creating this sense of visual overload. The series was commissioned for Deutsche Guggenheim in Berlin, and the works, like Lips on the left here, combine these disparate elements in a sort of dreamlike, almost surrealistic manner, while maintaining a connection to advertising aesthetics and pop art traditions. And on the right, Venus shares a thematic connection with classical art linked to contemporary culture. Koons frequently incorporates the figure of Venus, goddess of love and fertility, in his work from the late 1970s, and we'll see other examples. Popeye. Now, Popeye the cartoon was originally conceived in 1929. It was a newspaper comic strip, and it grew and grew and grew in status and became a tough, resilient, confident and super strong figure representing the American self-made man, personifying the American dream. And that was at a time of hardship during the Great Depression. So what Koons has done is reappropriated this American champion as an icon for the new millennium. It was begun in 2002. This particular work is 2009 to 11. It combines pop culture, consumerism and historical references. And it's cartoon imagery, reference to childhood toys and inflatables through the appearance. It's polished stainless steel again. It's monumental, again, like many of his works, nearly 2 meters high, and he's elevating popular culture to the realm of high art. He's showing Popeye in his classic pose, showing off his bulging forearms with his corncob pipe. And it's a powerful allegory of the modern world, themes of strength, resilience and transformation, the American dream. Its surface invites viewers to see themselves in the work, reconsidering the nature of identity and self. And it's part, as I said, of a Popeye series in which he continues to explore ready-mades and pop culture, and building on earlier works like Rabbit and prefiguring later works that we'll see, such as Lobster. The Popeye series was a feature of his first major exhibition in the UK at the Serpentine Gallery in London in 2009. This is Balloon Swan. It's over 3 meters high, stainless steel, again a twisted balloon animal, part of what he called his hybrid series 2004 to 2011. And by this stage he was one of the most his work was some of the most expensive work by a living artist at auction. This is Hulk Elvis series, and I'm showing you a painting from that series. He was experimenting with painting complex collage using Photoshop and references to popular culture and art history, exploring again power, masculinity and American culture. You might wonder why he used these cartoon characters. Well, Koons said, "My work is a support system for people to feel good about themselves." This is slightly different reference to an art object. It's called Balloon Venus Orange. Again, polished stainless steel. But it's inspired by the Venus and Willendorf, a prehistoric fertility figurine. And this piece is part of his Antiquity series, which he began in 2008. Fertility, beauty and art history, combining his balloon-like forms with references to the past, in particular to this figure, the Venus of Willendorf. It's only just over 11 centimetres high, estimated to have been made 30,000 years ago, found near a village in Lower Austria called Willendorf. And there are various theories about the function of these figurines. More than one has been found. Fertility goddess, perhaps, although there's another idea that they are self-portraits by women, and this interpretation is based on the lack of mirrors at the time and what a woman would see looking down at her body, and also the lack of facial features because they had no mirrors. An interesting idea. Now we come to the Gazing Ball series of sculptures and paintings referencing famous works. This is the Farnese Hercules, has been recreated in plaster, and a blue mirrored glass ball. The Gazing Ball series is there are many works in the series. I've just selected this one, and in a moment you'll see the painting from the series. And the mirrored ball invites visitors again to see themselves as part of the artwork. And as he said, the vastness of the universe, and at the same time the intimacy of right here, right now, suggesting a connection between the present and the past, the infinite. As he said, this experience is about you, your desires, your interests, your participation, your relationship with this image. And if we look at a painting, he copied the old master's work and added a ball, that is a large glass, hand-blown glass sphere that's physically affixed to the surface of the painting. It's not painted on, it's an actual blue glass sphere fixed to the painting. The painting itself, of course, is a reproduction. It's called Gazing Ball Botticelli Primavera, and it's a reproduction of Botticelli's famous Renaissance masterpiece. In case you're wondering, the works were painted by his assistants, and he used a sophisticated high-tech version of paint by numbers to produce it. It's a very accurate reproduction, and the glass ball, as I said, is attached. The series includes many old masters. Just a short list: Rembrandt, Titian, Rubens, Veronese, Van Gogh, Courbet, David, Leonardo, El Greco, Gauguin, Géricault, Giotto, Goya, Klimt, Manet, Monet, and many others. Koons said, "One of the reasons I work with technology the way I do is that I can really be assured that the vision I have from the outset of what will be at the end." Or in other words, what he's interested in is not painting an exact reproduction of the old masters, which he achieves by the use of assistants and technology. He has an idea in his mind which he uses other people to realise. To that extent, it's a form of conceptual art. This is some of his, or the work on the right, Porcelain series, and I thought I'd show you two works to show you how he reworks the same idea in different materials. The one on the left, Seated Ballerina, is at the Rockefeller Center in New York, and it's It is actually an inflatable version, if you like. It's a big balloon, and you can just make out the restraining cables holding it down. But the one on the right at Oceana Bay Harbour is made of stainless steel. So, and both of these, this idea, this figure, is based on an original small porcelain figure of a seated ballerina. Again, he's exploring childhood imagery in the sense of these large inflatable versions, kitsch objects transformed into monumental public works. This is Apollo Kythera, 2.3 meters tall, and you can't see here, but the unusual thing about it is its animatronic sculpture depicting the god Apollo, who was the Greek god of music and arts, playing the Kythera, which is the stringed instrument you can see, but the animatronic part is the snake, which moves, adding this dynamic, lifelike element to the piece. And the movement creates a sense of tension and vitality to the work. This work, Apollo Kythera, was a centerpiece of his exhibition called Apollo at the Desti Foundation's project space in Hydra, Greece in 2022. And the exhibition itself included many other of his works and ready-made objects. This work is interesting, Moon Phases. It actually consists of 125 unique works, each consisting of 3 components. There's a sculpture installed on the moon in perpetuity, a sculpture that will stay on the earth, and an NFT, non-fungible token corresponding with the sculptures on the moon and the earth. So there's 125 miniature moon sculptures, each about an inch or 2.5 centimetres in diameter, displayed together in a transparent cube you can see on the left and the right. And the sculpture in the middle you can see is labelled Leonardo da Vinci. He decided to inscribe each piece with the name of a notable historical or cultural figure, and he has included artists, scientists, people like Galileo, Cleopatra, Gandhi, and Andy Warhol. I did say installed on the moon, and you may wonder whether it was literally installed on the moon. Yes, it was. It was installed on the moon's surface on the 21st of February 2024. And you might wonder, well, how did it get to the moon? Who paid for it? It was paid for by a consortium of private space companies and commercial lunar missions, not by NASA. It's actually the first authorised artwork to land on the moon, and obviously it will stay there in perpetuity. This is lobster wall relief, part of his many different wall works, which are reimagining of earlier works and produced as sort of standalone works to hang on the wall, and the wall works include Popeye, isolated and presented as a wall hanging. The lobster series you see here is inspired by Salvador Dalí's Lobster Telephone of 1936, and also Elsa Schiaparelli's lobster-themed hats and dresses from the 1930s. This is another example produced later, 2019, of the rabbit series. The record-breaking rabbit that I showed you earlier was one of the pinnacles of his career in terms of market value, and it inspired the production of other rabbit series later. This work, the original rabbit, was a 3-ton sculpture, some 4 meters high, made from mirror polished stainless steel in different colours. You may wonder why he produced all these rabbits. Well, he said, when asked, "It comes from my upbringing. I grew up in south central Pennsylvania in a rural community, and at special times of the year, people would put things out in their front yard for decoration, like reindeer at Christmas time. In the spring, around Easter time, there would be inflatable rabbits." So that's the answer. He also has been engaged in different projects, and I've chosen one of them. This is Lady Gaga's album cover that he designed in 2013. There are other works and projects that he's worked on. This is the Lady Gaga's Art Pop album cover, and it became an exhibited artwork in Gaga's Art Rave in the Brooklyn Naval Yard. He's also produced many large-scale public works. I've shown you some earlier, Puppy and Seated Ballerina. This is another work, Bouquet of Tulips, some 12 meters high. It was a gift to the city of Paris, and it was in memory of the victims of the 2015 terrorist attack. He donated the concept, but the cost of production, the $3.5 million it cost to produce, was paid by private donors like Bloomberg and Ralph Schlossstein, Louis Vuitton. And when it ran over a budget, however, Koons donated $1 million to complete the work. And it shows his engagement with public art and international relations. It did actually spark controversy because of its size and its cost and where to place it. And it took 3 years of arguments about the location. And it was eventually placed, as you see here, in the garden of the Petit Palais in Paris. This is Three Graces, and I thought I would end with one of his most recent works. This was exhibited at Alhambra in 2024. It was placed alongside Picasso's 1923 painting, The Three Graces, although in fact they couldn't actually put it directly alongside because it wouldn't it wouldn't fit through the door or the windows. And so it's been placed in a courtyard, which you see here. It's Jeff Koons standing in front of it, and you can see the work. He was very pleased, actually, with where it was placed because it gets natural daylight in the courtyard. This is in one of the apses, one of the nooks around the courtyard. It is an embodiment of beauty and harmony from the ancient world, and it's inspired by this work by Antonio Canova, Three Graces. But in Jeff Koons' case, he's used polished steel and bright colours to bring some reflection, glamour, playfulness to the work. And he said the aim of the exhibition at the Alhambra was to illuminate the continuity and transformation of artistic inspiration, offering visitors a unique perspective on the dialogue between tradition and modernity. So that brings me to the end of the talk. Throughout his career, Jeff Koons has challenged conventions, as you see, and blurred the line between low and high art, provoked intense reactions from both critics and admirers. His work continues to be exhibited in major museums and galleries around the world, and it confirms his position as one of the most significant and controversial artists of our time. Thank you again for your time and attention, and I'm already working on the next talk in this series, so goodbye for now, and thank you again.